are back with something new. I am one of your hosts, Amber Solaris, and welcome to the first ever season of Reign of Pain, where we dive into the edges of desire, thrill of endurance, with the art of sadomasochism and pain-related play. So, this is your space to explore, educate, power. Whether you're a seasoned player or you're just beginning your journey into this form of play. So pain play isn't just about sensation, it's about that sense of trust and connection and really transformation. Every episode here will shed light on different techniques, different explorations, journey. Of course, we'll talk about the safety stuff and the inner worlds of people who embrace the sting, the thud, and the different sensations while they surrender to seeing stars. So step into the night and embrace the unknown and find your own version of the Reign of Pain. And of course, as always, a little bit of a content warning. This is listener discretion advised. There is a content warning for potentially distressing topics. We will be discussing a multitude of adult-only topics here, and so you are encouraged to consider your own capacity before continuing.
Hey, my amazing pain lovers and listeners that are back for season 4. I can't believe we've got all the way through this year and are heading to close with a bang. I have a very incredible demon in my dungeon this evening. Demon, welcome. It's always amazing to have you. It's even more special to have you back again. Thank you for joining us, and yeah, just welcome from the whole team.
Well, thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure working with you and with your team, of course, as well. And I'm honored to join your ranks again. Looking forward to the Reign of Pain, actually. And
Yeah, we're excited. So you brought us some very different ideas. I know that your dance card was very full, and we got to choose from some really cool ideas. And the one we didn't choose now, we've just scheduled in for later of the year. We'll let you know that during the course of the year when we need you to show up. We are very grateful for everything that you submitted. But talk to us a little bit about what you're going to be teaching at Reign of Pain and what people can look out for.
Sure. The workshop that I'm going to present, I think one of the first ones I did as really a crossover between my witchy work and my kinky work is Mother Nature's kinky side. And that's a workshop basically about all kinds of chemical and botanical play. So we're gonna work on having some, making our own spanking oils, for instance, but also how you can use all kinds of household materials that you can buy from your own grocery store in play. So it's all about a semi-low budget play as well, and quite easy to obtain materials that can still cause a lot of pain. So we're going to play with capsicum, we're going to play with ginger, floggers from all kinds of natural materials. And with that workshop, I really want to invite people to go out in nature and be really, well, go back to basic, really, but in a safe way. So I'm also going to explain, of course, what materials not to use, how to safely and ethically source your materials without harming plants, how to play with certain food items. It's basically going to be a combination of a bit of witchcraft, a bit of evil mad scientist, and a bit of sadism.
I absolutely love that. You said a couple of things, so I have to take you right back to the beginning of that. I absolutely love the idea that you can be a sort of a little bit witchy and a little bit mad sciencey in the kitchen, and take that kitchen kink into the bedroom. Have a bit of a fascination for finding cool shit in the kitchen that can make your bedroom experience better. So I think your class ticks my boxes there as well.
Awesome. But if you have any input and any experience on that, all participants, of course, are always welcome to share their experience and their favorite herb or spice or plant. Because, well, I'm Europe based, and it's always very interesting to hear what kind of plants and herbs and spice are available in other sides of the world. That for me are like hard to come by, but other people like, oh, but we have that in the grocery store. We have like 10 of those. So of course, I'm always happy to hear if you have any input on that. And of course,
I will have to start to make my wicked list. But it's definitely, you mentioned a couple of good old favorite names like ginger and capsicum. And I just smiling because I have some great memories with those two. Probably better than I do with any wine that you could have mentioned. I don't think a wine you could mention a name of a wine that would have made me smile as much as ginger. But yeah, super looking forward to that. And tell me a little bit about where this witchy stuff crosses the kink line for you and how you've incorporated that, because it's definitely something that has been evolving over the last year. And yeah, exciting things are ahead for you. So tell my listeners and myself a little bit about that.
well, I started doing all kinds of witchy stuff when I was about 16. I was like this little cute goth girl. Well, not so cute, but very much goth. And of course, like every other goth girl, I dabbled a bit in Wicca and stuff like that. And that didn't really fit me. I'm not about love and light. I'm not made of love and light at all. So I started evolving a bit more in the left-hand path, in the pagan path, did some courses on herbalism, did some courses on witchcraft, joined the coven, did a priestess initiation. And that was basically a path that always was kind of parallel with my kink stuff. I started doing kink in my 20s, so I'm in my 20th year by now of doing kink, and 24th year of doing all kinds of witchy stuff. And at one point, it kind of naturally evolved. I first figured it would be better for me to keep those paths separated. But somewhere halfway in my 20s, I figured why. Because there's actually a lot of overlap that we do in ritual work, respect for the body, respect for energy, energy play, but also consent. Lots of stuff we do for the community that we do both in the pagan world and in the kink world. So the overlap started first with a little bit of ritual work. And then I figured, okay, I know that stuff about herbalism, and I know some stuff about herbs and spices. And in the kink scene, we like to use all kinds of stuff to make people hurt, to make people feel good, massage oils. And I'm sorry, that's the dog responding to my food being delivered. So the overlap kind of came natural. Did a I followed a workshop myself about chemical and botanical play a few years back. Well, about 10 years back by now. And I heard a person saying they made floggers out of roses. And for me, the awesomeness about roses being a flower of love, but also the thorns being able to hurt, the bloody part that was part of it, it all kind of came together. And I basically went down the rabbit hole and never came out.
I love that, and I love using roses. I use them a lot for flogging and CBT. They have a very intimate. It's a very intimate gift that you leave with somebody. Flogging with rose stems, because I think it's something it's much more connective than
Yes.
the normal flogger. So I'm definitely smiling, and I can't wait for that. If people want to reach out to you about how this pagan world connects with our amazing kink world for you, where can they reach out to you at, and how do they find you?
Well, you can always find me on FetLife as Daemon, Day_MOON, so Daymoon basically underscore. But also under Ceremony Meesteres. And that's, well, I've put a name in the chat because it might be hard to spell that for people that are not Dutch. But they can find me on Instagram and on FetLife as Ceremony Mistress, actually.
That's amazing. I'll drop that in the chat as well. I'm in the chat. I'll drop that in the show notes at the end of this as well.
And of course, also as Daemon. You can also find me as Daemon. That's Day_Moon_. And from that FetLife profile, you can also find my Instagram and my professional FetLife account and my website.
Thanks. I'll drop that in the show notes as well. You have quite a passion in kink, and it's definitely evident in some of the stuff we've connected over. Which is your favorite kink? And when you get to kink for yourself, what do you choose for you?
For me, that would be everything that has to do with fire. When it comes to like a physical sensation, I really like doing fire play. But the most important part for me is everything that helps me connect to a person on a deeper level. Like I do like pickup play, but if I do pickup play, it always has to be something difficult, you know? I don't. I'm not into the quick and dirties. I like the weird stuff, the stuff that's a little bit out of the ordinary. Like as I said, putting people on fire, but also the artsy stuff, making nice things with wax, not per se about the pain, but about making something nice together, and pushing boundaries within limits. So really seeing how I can take a person to a next level within the limits that we have discussed earlier. So I don't think it's per se a specific kink. It's more like a specific mindset that I like to reach for. If
I
that
love
makes
that. I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with wax. It's something that I adore wax as a medium. It's so beautiful to play in, but
sense.
it comes with such a big personal responsibility because
Yes.
the whole adulting around wax is like it's supreme amounts of adulting. It's not just a little bit amount of adulting, it's a lot. Like, and
Yes.
nobody wants to clean up wax for the next 6 weeks. And I'm literally sitting here scraping wax off my beautiful wooden desk, and there shouldn't be wax anywhere near my wooden desk after this said experience with wax. But wax can be so freaking intimate and so sexy. And I have to say, like, of course, I didn't discover that, tenderly tying somebody up and dribbling wax over them. I entombed them and made a complete coffin out of wax, and did their whole body. And it was so beautiful to see somebody trapped in this case of wax. It was the most incredible experience. And it just like opened this whole door, besides the fact that wax is this horrible personal responsibility moment in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate cleaning it up. I
Yep.
hate cleaning it up so much.
There are
Um,
definitely some hacks that you can use if you want to make the cleanup easier. So you don't always have to suffer that much.
I promise you, we've got it down. Like we've been doing this as a team, and we use quite a bit of wax. We'll use like 20 kgs in a pour. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll use like a big amount of wax. So we're not scared to bring the wax. But geez, cleaning it up for the mission. We literally dexter the whole room now, like we do for a blood play. And then we
Nice.
just pull the plastic down, throw it on top of itself. But I mean, you just need someone to come in the room and go out the room, and there's wax in the whole house. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how careful you are. It's the one thing. Like it's the glitter of the kink community for me.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
yeah. That's true. If I do like wax play workshops, I always tell people like, are you sure that you want me to do this workshop at your location? Because I do the workshop, and I will of course do a part of cleaning, but please be aware that you will still find pieces of wax like 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 years from now. Yeah.
And it gave it such a bad rep in my head because of the amount of work that it's just a lot of work. It just
Yep.
really is a lot of work. But it is, and because of that, I think it started being like a kink dispenser thing for me, where people came to me for wax. I didn't ever mention it or suggest it or bring it up in conversation on my own, and I think that scarred me a little bit. So it was nice to be able to play with it again and find it, yeah, just find it again as a kink and as a medium. But I think you put something in there when you spoke about your favorite things in kink, and I think you spoke about intent, or that's what I understood, is that
Yeah.
the intent of the scene is just so much more important. And this year has been a lot about intent for me,
Mm-hmm.
about making sure that I'm in the right space with the right people doing the things that really matter. Otherwise I shouldn't be doing them. And it's been interesting. It's been an interesting reflection.
For
I mean, I
sure.
think the one thing that happens in our whole sadomasochism world is that we live a very false online representation of masochism. We're always, I think, even for me, like, I will stand up and tell you I'm a sharps player way before I'll stand up and tell you I'm a masochist. I don't want to compare myself to perfect pictures of bruises and marks and stuff like that that I'll never be able to take. And it's interesting. It's just interesting how there's we find a lot in the shop world, but I find a lot in this world as well, is that there is like a definite perfection or level of achievement,
Yeah.
rather than about the intent of the moment and what that meant for two players.
Exactly. That's actually where my catchphrase comes from, like the practice makes perfect is like the thing that we all know. But I really believe that practice makes personal, and we should really let go of that perfection part, because it's such a limitation. But it also sets such high boundaries for people that are new into the scene, or that want to try something new. And of course, standards for safety and for consent, of course, should be high. But aiming for like the perfect picture, I think it can be really harmful. Of course, if you are comfortable in your kink and you want to improve and make things better, sure. But I really agree with you that that perfect picture is a thing, and that's with masochism as well. It wouldn't be the first time I'm at a party and a person is being hit, and someone in the crowd is saying, "Oh, you can hit harder, or you can cut deeper," and I'm like, "No, those people are having like a thing going on. They are doing their thing within their boundaries, but within their capability and risk profile. It doesn't have to be perfect or fitting somebody else's standard. Like the intention, having the fun together and reaching a point together where you are both happy, or the three or the four or the five or the 10 of you, is way more important than fitting into that perfect picture where that one single drop of blood is coming from the tip of the needle, and where every knot is placed on the exact perfect point to make the body look best.
Yeah, I mentioned you in every class I teach. I think your practice makes personal is so special. And it should be personal for us. We should be working out what our intent is behind it, and not striving to just have the perfect picture or have the perfect scene. I mean, I like how it's a catch-22, because
Yeah.
most of us are perfectionists and we want the perfect scene anyway. But we need to enjoy the moment, and we need to enjoy getting there and spend more time on that. So I've really I've really had a deep year with that, and really understanding why I do things, and trying to put as much intent into into the time I have with my bottoms, I think has been the one thing that I've really brought home this year. So I do things totally differently now. So we're going to bake cookies again on Sunday before we stab each other, and who does this shit. And then we're going to eat a lot of cheese, because that's also things girls are very good at doing. But it just changes the whole vibe, and it makes our little ritual of starting our day. And this is something that I've taken from you and from other educators this year. So loving how the education that we've offered is connecting in my own life, and I'm able to really enjoy the moments I have with the special people in my world.
Oh, that's so awesome. I really love that for you. No, I also think it's an important revelation, an important step in relations, that you can have that connection together. I think that's where the true perfection lies, being able to connect on that level, and not just having of course, just having the kink is also great, but being able to connect beyond that part, and being able to share and put really intention to what you do. I think that's kind of close to perfection, actually.
And I think if you can't connect with the human being that you're about to trauma bond with it deeply, you've got a problem. And I think a
Yes.
lot of my former kink years, when I was so excited about stuff, I often did stuff to experience the stuff not to be present with the people.
Mm.
And I think so, and I think this is a part of life. You're going to do that a million times. And doing other facets of your life as well. But yeah, the kink has changed when it's no longer about the kink and it's more about the human being. And I'm really just enjoying my journey with some really special people and being able to appreciate them. Because I have more information about what I'm doing, I've also feel more confident and relaxed. So the whole year has been good, I think. I feel
Great.
positive, and I'm loving where we are at, and I'm excited for Reign of Pain. A little bit terrified because they're talking about things like emotional masochism and
Mhm.
things that I haven't really delved very deep into. I don't know
Oh,
if you have any experience there.
well, then you're probably going to be in for a treat. I already saw like a lot of interesting topics coming by also about the emotional part of masochism.
Yeah, it's something that I haven't really delved into a lot. Have you done a lot of a play in that area?
I did actually. One of my classes is actually about mind play, but then we're gonna go for a more fun approach this time. Last class I did about mind play was more about the really serious and deep play. But personally, I do like playing with the emotional part. But it is a kind of play that also takes a lot of adulting because you really, I believe that you really have to know your partner quite well before you can poke into emotions in a semi-safe, controlled way. Because you never know what's gonna come up. You know, if I know a person superficially, I'm gonna poke into something. You never Emotions are like unpredictable and really it can be really primal. So for me, it's really interesting to see what can happen if you play with those emotions. But it's also a kind of play that I wouldn't do with a random person. You know, I know it can be done and people do that and do it in a safe as possible way. But for me personally, this is something I only do with people that I had several interaction with before and that their crazy matches my crazy. You know, like you never know what's going to come up when you play with emotions, when you play with the mind, when you play especially with stuff that you cannot oversee. And emotions happen on the inside most of the time. So it's an extra challenge both in negotiation and in play. But I do like that kind of play. Yeah.
I have always played with pure physical pain. The emotional comes from the endurance of that, and that's
Mhm.
about as emotional as I've got. So I'm finding it very interesting learning about the different ways on how to do it safely.
Yeah.
Is there something that you can add to your self-care so that your aftercare for a play like that is better?
Well, I think one of the most important things about that self-care when you're playing with all kinds of emotional stuff, also with physical stuff, but especially with emotional stuff, is being really honest with your partner about stuff that could be triggering to you. Like I'm not talking about activating, not about the stuff that might be irritating to you, but really the big triggers, but also about your capacity. And that changes from day to day, of course, as you know. But I think that's a really important thing, but also prepare for the worst possible outcome. So have a communication protocol in check for when everything goes sour, when a person is not able to communicate anymore properly. Make sure that you have everything in check, that you know how to deal with a person in really emotional distress. Because you're not aiming for real emotional distress, you're aiming for emotional activation, basically. You're not planning on pushing a person towards trauma. But I do think it's important to prepare for that so that you know what that specific person needs when they go into emotional shutdown or when they go into emotional overdrive. And in order to know that, both or basically all parties that are doing that play need to be completely honest in their triggers and their fears, I think.
I think it's sometimes a hard one. Like I had an interesting experience. We film a lot of really wild fetish porn. Anybody who's looking for some really wild fetish porn, please check me out on Mistress April online. My porn's amazing. You will
Mm.
not regret spending your money on my porn, people, listeners. Do it. But so I get some really incredible kink opportunities through this. It's and we did a CNC film, and I was the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and I was completely triggered. It was an experience that I didn't even realize that side of me existed
Mm-hmm.
until I was in the scene. I've been in kink for my whole life. Like I I don't have a recipe for this. I didn't have a whole bunch of notes on how to handle the kitten when it's completely triggered and set
Mm-hmm.
off. Like I had never been here before. So I think sometimes shit does just come up.
Yep.
And you are more than likely at some point in your kink journey going to hit something that is incredibly triggering. When you have the right people around you, it's okay. When you
Yeah.
have the wrong people around you, I think that's when it's the issue. And I just think my advice is this game is serious and it is edge play in a lot of different ways, and it does have consequences. And just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, play with good friends who you really trust.
Yeah, and have like a backup, like if you're playing with a person you don't know that well, or it's maybe not your go-to person, it might be wise to have a person on call that you can call, or have your own ways of caring for yourself. Like I always think that a person is expert of their own body. Um, you might not be knowing what's triggering you at that point, but there might be some things that you know that can calm you down in basically any circumstance, like maybe going out or being alone or not being alone. Have a specific kind of body lotion, a scent that makes you feel good, a specific kind of tea that's not going to help you with the being triggered and with the enormous emotional overload, but that can give you some comfort that makes it easier to handle, I think. Like
Yeah,
focus on small things in order to have a little bit more capacity to deal with the big things.
and I also think that it's okay to be triggered. I think that it's okay to have those feelings and to
Of
be
course.
in that situation, and you don't have to pretend it's not happening or disassociate or
Mhm.
remove yourself. I think that and I think it's going to happen to everyone at some point. So and I also think like whatever perfect plan you have beforehand just gives you some ideas in the moment. The moment is never what you expect it to be.
Mhm.
And I think after kinking for so many years and having so many amazing experiences, it was the one time I was truly triggered, completely unexpected. Um, Nobody's fault. I'm not blaming anybody. That is not what I'm saying. It was a complete reaction that I didn't even know I had in me.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to learn that about myself. You know, I was born in the 1900s. You don't learn new shit about yourself every day. But it's interesting to learn new stuff about myself, and that yeah, and then that my aftercare plan is always very simple: get clean, get
Mhm.
warm, get comfortable, and then life just seems like so much better. So I just stuck to those three basics for the
Yeah.
same in the situation. And I was okay afterwards. But just interesting that even with the most planning, it can still happen.
Of
And it's
course. Yeah.
something that you need to be aware of, and it's okay if it happens.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think one of the worst things one can do is not acknowledge it, like trying to keep it in. And at some point, there are some situations where you might not feel safe to open up about having that feeling. But I do strongly believe it's important to really feel that feeling and feel it through, instead of pushing it away and saying like, "Oh, I don't feel it, I don't feel it, I don't feel it, I don't feel it," and dissociate, like you said. I think in the long run, that might be more harmful than letting it go. As long as you're in a
yeah,
safe place, of course. Getting to safety is, of course, the most important thing.
yeah, just just a good reminder for me that we are not invincible, and that we still have parts of ourselves that we haven't explored
Yes.
completely, and that you need to just be kind to yourself when it happens. The realization for me that it could happen after all these years was huge. I was very surprised at the situation. And the other thing was, I have a strong voice. I'm a switch. I'm not a sub. I'm not submissive in any way when I play, but I do a lot of pain things, both topping and bottoming, and I love both sides of the experience. But there are still things that I haven't explored, and I can't predict my reaction. So
No.
I did learn that the first time I try new things, I still have to go really slowly, because that's also quite helpful, apparently. Then you don't get as triggered.
Yeah.
But, yeah, interesting how we can learn new things still at our old age, and how Kink gives us a platform to be more empowered. No, it's good. It's good.
So that's not your old age. That's your crone phase coming up. That's totally different.
I don't know. I think it's my violence phase.
Yeah.
I think it's my like I've just decided, psycho killer, mass murderer, something like that.
Well,
When you
that's
say
also
crone, I see this old woman with a crow on her shoulder, and the savage crow that tears people apart and rips them muscle from muscle. They're quite here in the Cape. They're quite recognized as sort of birds of torture, because they tear prey apart.
Well, crows can be quite violent, but they travel in murders. So yeah.
Right? They're so cool. I'm bringing my own murder with me. I think that's cool. I'd need 6. How many crows is a murder? More than one?
More than one, yeah.
Okay, there we go. I'm so excited to have you back, and I'm so excited to have your classes on. And I'm really looking forward to chatting to you soon.
Great. I'm really looking forward to both classes I'm going to teach are some things that are close to my heart, like the chemical and botanical play, like I said, like the witchy kind. And for the mind play, we're gonna dive more into the riddles and all kinds of puzzle kind of games. So not the big mind fucks, but we're gonna do koans, all kinds of psychological riddles, all kinds of philosophical boundaries, double binds that we're going to discuss, ethical discussions, all kinds of mind play, but then relatively small mind play. So I'm kind of a trickster. Like my primary altar is dedicated to Loki, so I think this is really going to be a Loki-minded workshop.
I absolutely love that, and so looking forward to connecting with you again. And on behalf of all my team, we are so grateful for the privilege of having you back. My listeners, if you guys don't have a ticket, we have early bird, 2 weeks left of early bird. So do it, grab your tickets now. If you need a scholarship, please reach out to us. We're more than willing to help you. Education should be for everyone. And stay out of the Christmas madness. People, don't get involved. Order online. Stay safe. People wearing those socks at the mall are dangerous. From my dungeon in a very crazy Christmas season. Much love and kitten kisses.
Bye bye.